So when we explore tabletop, analog, role-playing games, books, dice, paper, miniatures, there is this idea of a GM, a game master. What is their role? You're excited about this role-playing system. You're getting the group together. You're going to be the GM. What's expected? What are some points to explore? What are things that we should keep in mind? Let's build that checklist for your first game, because having the GM, being the GM, there's a lot of responsibilities. It can be a little bit overwhelming. I've been a GM for many, many years. I enjoy many role-playing systems. But what's interesting, despite a lot of success in running games and running conventions, I feel confident in my ability as the GM. But honestly, when I pick up a brand new role-playing system, I spend time analyzing it. I spend time reading it. I play a couple of test scenarios. That first time that I'm sitting at the table, that first game, and I play my games just on the sphere of influence, tend to be pretty big, tend to attract 10, 15 players. I mean, I love it. But honestly, that first time, even with all my experience, I'm like, this is a new system. I've never done this before. Game zero is literally game zero, no matter your experience. So I understand that. So if you're a new DM or GM, brand new, let's look at some ideas, some things to explore. You are three things in equal parts, mixing around. You're a rules lawyer. You are there because a role-playing game is a simulation of sorts, whether it's realistic, D20 modern, sci-fi, or just totally out there. It is a simulated construct with its own physics and own in-universe game engine laws. You are there to implement those laws. You are there to execute the rules fairly. You have a bit of ability to interpret and bend the rules, but you're there to run this. You're like a analog computer processing a biological computer, maybe digital too, because you have electrical impulses, but you're there to execute the game. You're there as a storyteller. Now, you're creating an adventure, whether it's something you've written yourself or a scenario, or even if you pulled it off the shelf and read it, you're communicating that adventure. You're there. You're like a bard. You're like a storyteller. And the passion that you bring to the table, that unique personality, that creative spirit that I know you have, that is going to shine forth. And then you're there to listen to the players and facilitate the players, whether they're heroes, anti-heroes. You're not there to railroad them and say, okay, this is what you see, this is what you do, there's a monster, you draw your weapons, roll for initiative, we're going to fight. Like, that's not even a choose your own adventure game book. That's just like railroading. You want to convey the situation, let the players make their decisions and live with their decisions. You also want to make sure that every player at the table has a voice. Every player at the table gets to contribute and lead with their unique player personality to draw out. So looking, as you run your first game, looking for these three areas, looking to keep them in balance. And you could make yourself a little index card with these 3 points and reference them every now and then. You could read through your adventure and look and see, okay, these 3 points that are coming up, how am I going to enforce them? How am I going to use them? Think of it not in terms of limitations, but in terms of a tool to facilitate, to create, to really create an amazing experience together as players. Because the GM, the DM, the person running the game, don't ever forget, you are also a player.